Good evening and welcome to the Jon Gaunt podcast. With you now for another half an hour or so. If you're listening on playback, great to have you on board as well. Hope you had a good Easter. Let's get down to it. Law and order tonight. UK's two-tier policing has now been thoroughly exposed. It's a ridiculous situation here. You get treated differently depending on your religion or your colour of your skin. It isn't right. It wasn't right when it was white people in their favour. It's not right now that it's in other people's favour. It's completely and utterly wrong. Justice, as you can see with my lady behind me, Mrs. Justice should be blind. But as you can see, the world's on fire. And it's because of uber liberals playing their games. It's okay for them to twist the rules, but it's not okay for us. And if you don't believe me, what about this weekend? Did you see the trans lobby? Not all of them, but the radical trans men, basically, in my opinion, the things they were saying about J.K. Rowling, the placards they were carrying, the way they defaced our ancient monuments, our heroes. We would not accept this if it was Tommy Robinson or a right-wing organisation, and we wouldn't accept it if it was the Countryside Alliance. The police would be in there making a few omelettes and cracking a few eggs, if you understand what I mean. But we've got two-tier policing because many of those people in the police, not the guys and girls on the front line, but the idiots who are in charge, they're all into rainbow laces, aren't they? They're all part of this nonsense, right? Leaving the Prime Minister, it's taken him 5 days after the judgment of the Supreme Court to actually make a statement. And his statement isn't that I was wrong before, because you remember, he wouldn't say what a woman was. He's now got himself into a position where he had to say, well, I think the court's been clear. Don't you know your own mind, Kia? Now, listen, I've got to tell you a little warning before we get going. Do not please repeat the allegations that are all over the internet during this show. Don't do that. Let's wait and see, yeah? We don't want to give ammunition to people who don't like us anyway. But let me just ask you this question. Keir Starmer's now decided what a woman is. And a woman evidently is somebody with a cervix, although he couldn't bring himself to say that before. And that a man with a penis isn't a woman, isn't biologically a woman. The courts have now said. The courts have just stated the blindingly obvious. But it's just symptomatic of the way this country is run by a small cabal, a small unit of these PC mad, woke idiots. They don't represent the majority of us, whether we're right or left or somewhere in the middle. They don't represent us. They've got their own little agendas. And when they turn on each other, they're even nastier. I mean, the stuff about J.K. Rowling, pictures of her with a noose. You couldn't do that. You couldn't do that on any other demo. It's the same with the Palestinian demos. They get away with murder, almost literally, right? But you can't do that. If you're the Countryside Alliance, do you remember when the police went in, mob-handed? We've got two-tier policing. We've got two-tier justice. Today, the sentencing guidelines. You know, she made a big fuss, Yvette Cooper and the other woman who's in charge of it. The big fuss saying, oh, yeah, we're not going to accept that. We're not going to have it that we're going to look, first of all, your ethnicity or your gender or your sex. No, we're not going to do that. Well, now, when we're not looking, they've just decided to do it again. So you'll get a different kind of sentence if you're black or if you're a woman. And then the other big bit of news today, I had to laugh. I don't know how I've managed to keep myself going over the weekend. Evidently, I've just got it written down here for you. They're now going to show us what the ethnic makeup is of the crime statistics, right? 19,000 foreign criminals in jails at the moment, in British jails. Well, now they're going to tell us what the ethnic mix is. Well, we kind of know already, but they're going to tell us. Isn't that good? Isn't that brilliant? Isn't Keir Starmer a real great leader? Well, not really, because he's not going to tell you to the end of the year. You could have been raped or mugged or had all your possessions stolen by them. But I'll let you into a little secret. Evidently, the majority of the criminals are Albanians, Romanians, and Poles. But the absolute worst, evidently, are the Iraqis and the Afghans. This is according to GB News. Why can't we be told this? Why does this have to be a secret? Why do we have to wait until the end of the year? Why? Why can't they just work it out now? Why can't they tell us who's in prison? Mainly, I guess, because they don't know who is in prison. Just like they don't know of the 9,000 people who are arriving on boats costing us £6 million a day. They don't really know who they are. There's no checks. They haven't got a clue. We are being led by absolute donkeys. Absolute donkeys. And then today, Shabana Mahmood in the Commons had a go at Jenrick because basically Labour previously had confirmed it would introduce legislation to overrule the Sentencing Council, but now they've decided they're going to do it differently. Basically, they are going to take into account if you're a woman or trans or whatever, an ethnic minority, before they sentence you. That's not right. That's two-tier justice. Do you agree, Mrs. Justice? Let's see what she says. Oh, yes. She's angry. She's taken a blindfold off. She is not amused. But I want to know about you. What do you think about what I'm saying? And have you missed me the last couple of days? Plenty to talk about today. Sir Keir's U-turn again. He now knows what a woman... Stop it now. I told you. We're having no gossip. He now knows, evidently, what a woman is. That's interesting. What about the pro-Palestine demonstrations? And whilst we're on the subject, I'll tell you who else gets policed differently. The Stop Oil people. They glue themselves to the pavement. I'd leave the stupid idiots there. But no, our police go skateboarding with them over Tower Bridge. This is the ludicrous thing, because all of our top organisations, education, social services, universities, and councils are all full of woke warriors with their rainbow laces. The problem we've got is they're all part of it. They're all part of the same system. They probably all got their pro-Palestine stickers in their windows. That's why we can't get justice. And that's why it was disgraceful what happened in Southport when people got sent to prison without proper trials, all in a rush. And even now, he's not willing to say, okay, we better have a look at that again. I kind of know where you're coming from. Because he could have told people that Axel was not a new arrival. He could have stopped those riots. I think he's partly responsible for them. But this weekend, we had these violent protests in London following the Supreme Court's ruling on the legal definition of a woman. And surprises of surprises, it's a woman who was born a woman. Yet not one single arrest has been made. Monuments were defaced. Officers were shouted down, and foul, threatening language was used. The police just stood by and took it all in, probably because their chief officers sympathise with these protesters. That's not the kind of Britain I want to live in. Imagine if they were from the right. Would they have been treated the same? We've got two-tier policing, let me tell you. And then you've got people like Tommy Robinson, which, remind me if I'm wrong, I think at all of the rallies he's only had 6 or 7 people arrested. There hasn't been mayhem on the streets. I'm not saying I agree with him or disagree with him. What I'm saying is that's two-tier. He is policed differently. And, of course, he's in prison. And some people would say at the moment he's a political prisoner. Why are we allowing ourselves to be ruled by this incompetent mob? And not just Starmer. The last lot were just as bad. They're totally disconnected to you and me and the man and the woman in the street. Do you agree? Going to come to your comments any minute now. So look at the countryside protests a few years ago. Look at the lads and the farmers in their tractors. They were told, don't you bring your tractors to London again. We'll arrest you. Not content with trying to bankrupt them by stealing all their land, they now want to arrest them if they come to town in a tractor. This is the world we're living in. Animal Farm, it's coming true before your very eyes. And that's before we get on to the Pakistani Muslim rape gangs. Even now, if you have a demonstration about that, look at the way that will be policed. Very, very heavy. Very heavy. Now, I know the police have got to weigh up the risk and the rest of it, but it's a natural assumption, it appears to me, by the police and the politicians, anybody to the right of centre, well, one, they're far right, aren't they? Which, of course, they're not. But anybody who objects to the idea of white girls being raped and sexually assaulted, they're far right nutcases, and you can't trust them to have a demo because they'll kick off, and before you know it, we'll be storming the Red Square steps. It's absolute BS. It's political policing, and it's completely wrong. I'm saying, and I'm saying it clear tonight, that if anybody to the right, anybody who's got family values, look at a woman who was standing there praying. She was anti-abortion, not my bag, but that's what she was. She wasn't doing anything wrong. She got molested and manhandled and pushed out of the way. I'm not blaming the normal coppers. I'm blaming their stupid bosses. Are you with me or are you against me? Stop Oil. Next time they glue themselves to the floor, leave them there. They can become new cat's eyes. Well, run the stupid bastards over. What do you think? What about the pro-Palestine, where they have people there with the Hamas flags as well? I'm not saying everybody on a pro-Palestine march is a hooligan or a terrorist, but I'm saying there are people within them who clearly are. Do they get stopped? Do the police go in? No. Are the police trying to find out which of these men who think they're women, maybe they are, I don't know, these men, I can't say the word I want to say, in frocks, you fill in the missing word, they think they can go and do that to our great capital city. No. Just 2 or 3 weeks away now from the big celebration and commemoration for the veterans, many of whom are now being denied going. The councils won't fund them to go. It's just, and the one don't want them to have marches. It gives the wrong impression. It's a bit militaristic, said some liberal councillor, right? It's just a clear pattern. I'm going to say it now. I'm saying it completely. Left-wing protesters in this country are treated with kid gloves. Anybody else is treated as if they're a football hooligan, a raving fascist, a Nazi, and they don't have a right to protest. Well, let me tell you, those brave boys and women who fought for us in the Second World War, they fought for freedom of expression. I would never ban demonstrations. I believe everyone has a right to have their say, right? Even if I vehemently disagree with them. But what do you think? What do you think about the situation we're in now? Right. Dark Angel says they definitely do treat people differently. Correct. Nigel Gordon, if you're at all right wing, you are racist. Not at all. Just want less people coming into our country in the boats. Yeah, you're concerned about the boats. Yeah, that doesn't make you a fascist or a racist. Of course it doesn't. Craig Urquhart says you've totally hit it on the head, John. Yeah, I think so too. But I'm not sure how many people are going to get reacting live tonight because obviously it's the day after bank holiday. I haven't been here. A lot of people are still off today. They've still got Tuesday off. But if you are watching or listening now and you want to join in, get in and give me your views on this. I think it's vital. I think it's vital that we have this discussion and we bring pressure on two-tier here because he's part of this. Why do you think Jimmy Savile never got prosecuted and people like he's part of it? I'm not saying it was his direct fault, but he's part of this liberal attitude to life. Look about today when he was asked clearly, do you know what a woman is now? And he said, well, the court, he and he said, the court told us all last week. You're the effing Prime Minister. You don't need the court to tell you. You're one of the most highly regarded, respected, and well-paid lawyers. You used to be the head of the people who prosecuted people in this country. You need a judge. You need a bewigged buffoon to tell you what to think. God help us. Thank God you weren't in charge in the Second World War. Oh, I don't know whether we can stop the invasion of the Nazis. You limp-wristed, lily-livered, Birkenstock wearing. He's just been on a holiday, hasn't he? I bet he was wearing his Birkenstocks. I bet he went somewhere like Greece, Kefalonia, so he can go skinny dipping. Doesn't even know what a woman is. What an insult to the majority population of this country who happen to be women. This is the kind of weak leadership we've got. But we had it with the Conservatives as well. They had plenty of time to put this right. So it's not just a rant at Labour, but it gets worse. Do you remember Chris Bryant? He's now in the cabinet. He's the MP for the Rhondda up the valley. There's a joke there. But he's the one who years ago went on a gay dating site called Grindr, is it? In a pair of dirty white underpants. And the message he put out, that's all he had on, right? And he was an MP at the time. He took a selfie in the mirror and he said, I'm as horny as, and the next word began with F and ended with a K, and there were two letters in between. He's an MP. Not only is he an MP, he is now, I think is he not Lord of the House? What do they call it? Father of the House. He's been in the House of the Commons so long. He's an ex-vicar. There's a surprise. But he's an ex-vicar, and he is now moralizing. He's one of the rebels. He's one of the ones who says this law that basically says this definition that a woman is a woman who's born biologically a woman. You can't be any other kind of woman effectively. He is one of the ones stirring up the nonsense, along with the Eagle twins. You know those two? I just think it's so wrong. It's now the law. People ask the judge, the Supreme Court, to make a decision. Now we've got senior cabinet members openly, not even hiding it, plotting to ignore the Supreme Court's ruling, because all the hospitals and stuff and all the police and all your rainbow-laced idiots, they're going to have to rewrite their identity manuals, aren't they? Because most of it now is out of date and wrong. So all these manuals where they've got chest feeding, they're breastfeeding, that means, but you're not allowed to call it breast because that's a woman and that's a biological. I don't even want to go into the explanation. Yeah. Now that all of that's out of the window. If you're born a man, you're a man. If you're born a woman, you're a woman. I know. Listen to me. I'm quite up on all this. It must be awful to be think that you're in the wrong body, and we should have sympathy, consideration, and we should help these people. But it's turned into a fashion accessory. It's the new backache, isn't it? Depression was, but now it's, oh, I'm trans. I don't know what I am. Yeah. Well, I know what you are. You're a blithering idiot. And also you are, if you were on that demo, you're a hooligan and you should be locked up. I want to see arrests, but there won't be any. There won't be any arrests of these people. Absolutely not. Look at the Countryside Alliance. Look at the rape gangs. Even the peaceful gatherings focus, say, on immigration. When people say, you know, there's a village this weekend, wasn't there, this bank holiday, saying we don't want illegals, asylum seekers, whatever you want to call them. It was near Windsor. We don't want them in the hotel there. It'll put off people from coming. And they're immediately tarnished as racist. It's not racist. We shouldn't be putting up people in hotels. We should put them up in army tents. How many times do I have to say this? Two things then. It would act as a deterrent. Less people would come because they would see it's not as nice as they've been told. And secondly, it would reduce the cost. How can we afford £6 million a day on hotels alone? That's without all the other costs. We can't. And every day there's more people coming in. You don't see, even though they did that forced, that fake news where they were deporting people. Well, they were the people who wanted to go back and they'd all got $3 grand or $5 grand to go. But they haven't really deported anyone who got off a boat yet. So on one side, you can see them all coming in at Dover. You don't see any going out. It isn't a matter I counted them out and I counted them in. It's not. So the number's just getting bigger. And I think a lot of these people might have some great things to offer us as a society. But we wouldn't know because no one knows who they are. Then look at how the police handle the pro-Palestinian marches, the Stop Oil when they chuck soup all over classic art, or they disturb people spend 60, 70, 80 quid going to the West End to see a production, and these jerks think they can stand up and ruin the play for everybody else. They don't care. They don't care if your old man's in the ambulance and he can't get to the hospital. They don't care because they're such zealots. Just like these trans activists at the weekend, just completely, utterly mad. And the things they were saying about J.K. Rowling and other people, that's arrestable offences. That isn't hurty words. If a woman could be sent to prison for saying, let's burn them out of the hotel or whatever, which was disgusting and wrong and all the rest of it, but she took it down immediately. If she can go to Nick for 3 years or 2 and a bit years, why can't these idiots? Tell me. I'll tell you why. Because left-wing, altogether now, left-wing protesters are treated with kid gloves. Justice is supposed to be blind. But in today's UK, it's clear some causes are more equal than others. It's time we spoke up about the two-tier approach to protest, policing, and, of course, the law. It's an absolute joke. And that's why I've got Mistress Justice there. Look at her, blindfold off. The city burning behind her, because that's where it's going to end up. It's going to end up in some kind of civil war if these Burks in government, on all sides, don't get their act together and start treating ordinary people, law-abiding, the decent, silent majority, unless they start treating us equally. That's all I'm asking for, to be treated equally. I don't want to be treated differently. I don't want to be treated in a superior way because I'm white and I can trace my family back so many years. I'm not a racist. I just want everyone who's here to contribute and be part of our great society and not separate themselves. Very quiet on the comments here today. I'm listening, John, but my hands are busy cooking. Good man, Peter. Good man. I've just done the cooking. I've done a lovely pork ragout, which I'm going to have after this. Craig, what's your thoughts on the one legit immigrant in and one illegal out with the French? I spoke about this on Thursday. It's nonsense. It's a game. It's a charade. It's BS. Can't you smell it? One in, one out. Yeah, the one that we're going to take in is one who could legitimately claim asylum. So that's not reducing the numbers, is it? Because the one we're kicking out is illegal. He should be gone anyway. It doesn't make sense. What we should be doing is putting them on boats, feeding them, putting them on boats, warm clothes, take them back and say to France, there you go, and you can shove your EHCR where the sun don't shine. That's my opinion on how you solve that problem, but we must treat the people humanely, and that's what I'm saying. Immigrants don't want them in the UK. We're an open checkbook. Bring back Maggie and Enoch. Well, that wouldn't be the answer, would it? Maggie Thatcher was in favour of immigration. She wasn't anti-immigration. We need immigration, Nigel, but it just needs to be controlled and well managed. And what they've done, the establishment of all parties, they've played a trick on you, Nigel. They're making out that the immigrants are all the problem. So therefore, we get up in arms. We say things that we shouldn't say, or we're tempted to. And because of that, they can then make out that we're the problem. We're not the problem. That's why they didn't tell us about Southport. Have you not got this yet, Nigel? They don't trust the decent, silent majority. Even after 9/11 and 7/7, when there was some sort of fight back against that, kickback, but there wasn't race riots. Muslims weren't getting burnt out of their homes, were they? Because most people know it's not all Muslims. It's not all immigrants. It's the extremists. Yeah? So we can be trusted. We just want to live in peace and harmony. We just want to get on with people. I agree. If there's a racist in the police or a racist on a demo and he says something wrong, then yes, or does something wrong, lock him up, put him on trial. But what happened at Southport, the more I think about it, the more I think it's a disgrace. Those guys probably never been in trouble with the police before. So then the duty solicitor comes up. He's got out of bed, so he wants an easy night. So he says, look, you're going to have 3 years for this. For this offence, it's 3 years. However, if you plead guilty, you only have to do 2. And because of the way sentencing works, you'll probably be out after 9 or 11 months. So these people with no real legal representation or time to consider their options go, all right, then I'll plead for it. So they plead guilty. And then before they could even change their clothes almost, they're sent to prison. Compare and contrast that with the Muslim, no, I don't know if he was Muslim, sorry, the Asian, I think he was, the Asian councillor who said he wanted to slit the throats of people. His trial, he's gone to trial, which is his right, but he obviously knew what to do. He obviously got the legal advice, like the 2 Manchester airport yobbos. Yeah, they got proper legal advice. Didn't like the guy, but they got proper legal advice. But what happened in those Southport riots was a lot of people who had never, ever been in trouble with the police. In fact, the last time they had any contact with a copper was when they came to the summer fete at their school, like my dad used to with the police motorbike or the police dogs doing a demo, suddenly find themselves deeply in the SH1T and they panic. And that's not justice. That's not justice. It isn't. If they'd said, even that woman, I'm open to that woman, to saying, well, okay, what she said in her past, whatever, she needed to go down. But you'll never convince me she needed to go to prison for 2.5 or 3 years. She just said it in the heat of the moment. 3 little girls had been slaughtered. 10 others had been injured by a madman. And their natural assumption, and you can say, well, that natural assumption is wrong, John. Yes, it was. But their natural assumption was it was another far-right Islamist nutcase doing it, right? Well, they weren't completely wrong, were they? Because he was making ricin, they found out later, but he wasn't a Muslim. He was from Rwanda. He wasn't a new arrival, which is what the rumour on social media was saying. So these people got worked up and they said things they shouldn't have said. For that, they should have been fined, maybe a short prison sentence if what they said. Because when they started attacking the hotel, that was just bang out of order. People living there and people were trying to burn it down. That's not right. That's emotion taking over the intellect, but that is fascism. That's wrong. You can't burn people out of their houses. We don't want to go back to that. We'll be back to no dogs, no blacks, no Irish, if we're not careful. And that's not where we want to be. That's not what we are. We're a tolerant, charitable nation. Look at the way we always help everybody. No, we're always there with the army. Yeah, go in there, go into that godforsaken country, put a load of tents up and feed everyone, look after them, give them medical care. Well, they are. Mistress Justice. Here's my idea. Let's do that in Britain. We could close all the hotels within a week, get the tents up, get the army. Be great exercise for the army in logistics. Get it sorted. Won't happen. Certainly won't happen under Keir Starmer. That guy can't work out what he is. He can't work out what a woman is. Today, he should have come out, all guns blazing, and said, yeah, of course I know what it is. It was difficult before because of the way the law was framed. However, I'm glad it's now clarified. A woman is an adult biological woman. That's a woman. Okay, and I like women. That's what it is, right? You see, with the Starmer rumours that are going around the internet, let's not pretend we haven't heard them. They're all there. But that's why I'm urging caution there. You don't know whether it's true. You don't. So don't get whipped up into a frenzy. Wait and see. I can't bear the man. I think the man is taking us into third world territory. And he's just got nothing. He's got absolutely nothing about him. He sneaked off on holiday. He didn't even have the balls to say, I'm having a few days to get away. I wouldn't begrudge him that. He must be knackered. He might make some better decisions if he'd had a proper rest. Anyway. Oh, and by the way, Pope's passed. I'm not a Roman Catholic. I respect other people's religion. And I feel for the Catholics if they're feeling that bad. I will just say one thing, if you're not going to shoot me down in flames. He's not getting buried till Saturday. Are we going to have to put up with wall-to-wall coverage of various priests telling us what a wonderful man he was? Well, we kind of got that message, haven't we? It's all a bit, do you not think it's all a bit over the top? Maybe I'm being too harsh. Evening, John. Hope you had a good Easter. Mine was fantastic. Oh, here we go. This is you said you're going to give me some money if they got promoted. Mine was fantastic. Leeds back in the Premiership. And yes, there is definitely a two-tier policing and judges in the UK. Well, there is. No two ways about it, Steve, on YouTube. But well done on your promotion. You thoroughly deserved for Leeds. Burnley as well. But it all kicked off there. Didn't understand that. Meanwhile, I was watching Coventry. How can we be so good one week and just abysmal the week after? They did a great interview with Frank Lampard on the local BBC News and on the radio. And I've got to give him his due. I wasn't sure about him, whether he would make a great manager. But he's turning into a great manager. He must have been fuming. You could tell his body language and what he said about it. He said, no, I'm not going to talk about individuals. I'm not going to slag off the goalkeeper. I'm not going to do this. But he was so terse and so tense. But in a way, great management, because then he's going to go in the dressing room, isn't he, and let rip, I hope, on those players. Because I'll tell you what the problem with Coventry City is, right? And it must be hard for him. He was a brilliant player, right? You can't argue with that. He was a brilliant player, right? He got to be a brilliant player by practicing like mad, a bit like Gordon Strachan, right? Gordon Strachan could never, Big Ron told me this, Gordon Strachan could never cope with having a player in the team who didn't give 100% every match. Because that's what Gordon Strachan did, didn't he? That's the kind of player he was. And he'd brought himself up by his bootstraps. The same with Frank Lampard. I know his dad was a very accomplished footballer, but evidently many people didn't think Frank was going to make it. But he worked at it and worked at it. So he must turn around. And these guys, even Frank Lampard, they're probably earning what Frank was earning almost in his prime, because Frank wasn't there. It's only in the last few years the real stupid money's come in. So he must get really angry with them, because suddenly this is what Coventry City do. They win a game and they suddenly think they're flipping Brazil, right? And so they start passing it left, right. No progress, but they think that's good. They think they're like Leeds, Steve, the great Leeds team, when they played Southampton. I don't know if you're old enough to remember this, back in 70-something, where they passed the ball about 900 times without Southampton touching it and then scored. Only problem is, of course, Coventry City, we didn't score. Well, not enough. And we lost. And he must get so frustrated. That said, I think we'll still get in the playoffs. We will get into the playoffs. I don't think we'll get any further. I would dread to see Coventry in the Premiership at the moment, because I just don't think we could hold our own. And do you want to go every week and just see your team lose? So I'm good. I'm digressing. Anyway, let's get back to the point. Talking about Stockport, etc. You mean Southport? It is fueled by the government themselves. That's what I'm saying, Nigel. I agree with you. Yes, John, I did. I've already done 25 quid, so another 25 will be winging its way soon. Good luck to Coventry. Good luck to you, my friend. I'm glad that you got what you wanted. I'm glad that you won. So today I'm supporting Tommy Robinson and other people who want to protest. They've got a legal right to do it. I'm fed up of two-tier policing, fed up to the back teeth of it. I'm fed up of our whole two-tier society where those who have contributed less get more. I don't see how that works. It's a bit like the law with the trans thing. They listen to those trans idiots, the fanatics, the far, well, are they far right? I don't know, but the extremists. And so we all had to pretend that a man can be a woman and all the rest of it. And yeah, that they need the cervix looked at, but they haven't got one. Yeah, but we're not allowed to say that. But they make laws for them. It's like the latest with the giving kids a meal. Now, hear me out before you slag me off. I think some kids do need a meal. And I don't believe, I've heard some young idiots today on the telly, haven't got kids themselves. One will definitely never have kids because he's gay. And he's pontificating on this, saying things like, well, if you're going to have kids, you should make sure you can afford them before you do it. That's like, come over here. Let me introduce you to the real world. You div. But also, people don't necessarily think about the consequences. Some people are ill-equipped. They need better education. And that's where I'd be putting the money, into education and care. I wouldn't be saying I'm going to give them some Rice Krispies when they get to school. Now, some kids, it's vital because they're not getting a proper meal. I would do that, but I also do other interventions. But not Labour. Labour want to be there with the soup kitchen because Labour are like the trendy vicar. Do you remember the trendy curate? Always want to prove that he's doing something for you and for God and for God's family. Shut up, you, right? Just do it. Just be it. Like people say, oh, yeah, charity, you got to give money to charity. But I just think, so this school meal thing, and I was listening to these kids, you probably know who I'm talking about, and this squeaky voice girl going on about people should think about the consequences. And you know what I find embarrassing about that? 20 or 30 years ago, I used to say crap like that on the radio as well. And it's wrong. It's just silly. It's just one-dimensional. It's like playing football against the old Wimbledon. It's all route one, boot the ball high and hope for the best. There's no skill. There's no finesse. There's no, well, why is this like this? Why have we got a situation? And by the way, I come from a one-parent family and I was in care. And I come from a family who had to have 3 meals. I also come from a family where I was the first person, me and my 2 brothers, to ever go to university in the whole extended family. So, you know, I think my working class credentials are there. But the idea that we're going to suddenly feed everyone, and that harsh woman, what's her name, with the red lipstick, she was all over the telly this morning, the education secretary. She's like Cruella de Vil on Speed. She's like Cruella de Vil without a heart. That's what she's like. She's a bitch. She's horrible. What, Belinda, so I can't remember her name. Bridget Phillipson. And she gets so terse and does. I'd love to interview her. She gets all like this before she comes on and she's fit to us. So if you ask her any question that's slightly difficult, she really hates it. She really, really hates it. But I find it amusing because if you were that convinced about what you were doing, you'd just be casual about it. Just like Keir Starmer today. Why don't he just say, yeah, well, it was hard to talk about that before because of this and that and that. But the court's ruled on it now, and I agree with him. But you see, he should have said it 5 days ago, but he hides, doesn't he? Just like he should have told us straight away who Axel was. Straight away. And that they found the terrorist manual. But no. He tries to do PR, and he can't do it. He's got the, I told you this a million times, he's got the Midas touch in reverse. Everything he touches, everything he does, everything he touches turns to. Anyway, on that happy note, I shall leave you. I want to watch EastEnders. I'll be back tomorrow. And it's great to be back talking to you. I was driving myself mad. I was going to do one, then I thought, well, there'll be nobody about. And there wasn't, because Twitter and everything's been dead, hasn't it, the last few days? But let's get it going again. Let's keep the pressure on these people, these self-serving pigs who think they can rule us. Let's keep correcting them. Let's keep telling them what to do, because they haven't got a clue. We've got a prime minister. Remember the old spitting image? The president's brain is missing. I wish they'd bring that back, because Starmer, he's meant to be this massive intellectual, isn't he? He's meant to have the brain of 15 universes, right? He's got the common touch of a universal catalogue. He's useless. Right, I'm off before I upset anybody else. I shall speak to you again soon. Thank you very much indeed for joining me. Thank you for all your contributions. Thank you to everybody who's retweeting stuff. That all helps. Today is cut-off day for Buy Me a Beer. It's always Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. So if you're thinking of doing one this week, if you could do it today, that would be really useful, because then I'd get it next week. That's a £5 if you want, or more if you want to put more in. And then you know all the other ways on YouTube. If you feel this is worth supporting financially with a few of your bob, then would you do it? Thank you very much. You don't have to. You're not obligated. It's not the BBC. I'm back tomorrow then, 6:30. Until then, if you've got kids, give them a kiss, give them a hug. Hey, don't forget to tell them you love them. See ya.